Good evening. I'm Tim Cumming, and I'm your host this evening. And the great news is you're not going to have to listen to much of me because we have an action-packed show. This is the Conservation Dinner, the virtual Conservation Dinner online charitable auction. It's been my honor over the last 15 years or so to be part of the Conservation Dinner Committee. We wanted to meet in person again this year. That didn't happen. We're doing it online. And I just want to thank you and all of you that are watching for your interest in supporting needed projects in your local community through the online auction. I have lots of thanks. I'm going to do a few quick ones, and then we're going to go right into a very special guest by video, Lambton Kent Middlesex MPP Monty McNaughton. But before we do that, I just want to say some thanks. I want to thank Mark and Nick and Clint and the whole Faux Pop Media team for the great shows. This is our second. I want to thank Wes McVicker, who hosted last week's show. Great job, Wes. I think they're going to take my job away and give it to you for hosting duties. I want to thank all the restaurants, whether they offered dining experiences or gift certificates or prizes, or if they took part in our Dining for Your Community. And the Dine for Your Community this year, we had Eddington's of Exeter, Hessenland Inn, Dublin's Family Restaurant, the Lake Hound of Grand Bend, the Lake House of Bayfield, and Robinson Fresh Cafe. So thanks to all those restaurants and all our restaurants. And one little bit of housekeeping, I want to encourage you to bid in the online auction. It ends tonight at 9 p.m. We have just surpassed $30,000 raised. That's exciting. If we could get our donations and bids up by a third, maybe we could surpass 40,000. Now, we only have a couple of hours before the online auction ends to do that, but I know this is a very generous community, so let's see if we can do it. And without further ado, if the Faux Pop folks are ready, we're going to have a video of welcome from Lambton Kent Middlesex MPP, Monty McNaughton. Thank you, Monty.
Hi everyone, thanks for inviting me to speak at this fundraiser again. In 30 years, including a successful online fundraiser last year, this fundraiser has contributed over $1.2 million to conservation initiatives through the Ausable Bayfield Conservation Foundation and the Exeter Lions Club. That is a true testament to the hard work of everyone involved, including the chair Dave Frayne and many helpers, and to the generosity of all the donors. It makes so much possible for the watershed. Your donations help improve trails and parks, fund bursaries, and support hiring a summer student, and advance the study of aquatic habitat here in the most beautiful part of Ontario. Buying conservation dinners from local restaurants is also a great way to support our local Main Street businesses. Thanks again to everyone for all the hard work that goes into this, to everyone participating, to supporting Lions Clubs. I hope to see everyone soon on our local trails enjoying spectacular sights. Thank you and enjoy.
Thank you very much, Monty, for that message. It's very much appreciated, and we have some of our other MPP and MPs later on the show, and so we look forward to that, and we certainly appreciate it, and we even have some of them bidding on the auction, so that's fun to see. Last week's show, we really concentrated a lot on parks and trails, and that's an important thing that is supported by the virtual Conservation Dinner online auction. But we're going to focus largely today on youth, and youth are so important, and your bids and your donations through the online auction, they support a number of youth programs, whether it's a scholarship like the Student Environmental Award, the Junior Conservationist Program, Conservation Education, the Exeter Lions Club's Family Fishing Derby for young people and families, and those are just some of the youth-oriented programs. And we have a gentleman on tonight who won a couple of different awards as a young person, and he's still a young person, but he was even younger when I first got to meet Ryan Carlo. And he's a special guest live today, and He was our the AuSable Bayfield Conservation Foundation's 2012 Junior Conservationist and 2013 Student Environmental Award winner. And later on, we're going to have another Student Environmental Award winner, Greg Urquhart, who's going to speak to the award program, the bursary or scholarship the foundation gives, thanks to your donations. But Ryan may touch on that too, but I think he's really going to concentrate on his experience as a junior conservationist. So Ryan, welcome. How are you?
I'm well, Tim. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. And tell me a little bit about yourself for the viewers who don't know you, where you're from and what you do.
So I'm Mitchell, originally Mitchell, just down the road, Exeter there. And currently I'm living in Chatham and continuing to work at a conservation authority down here.
Excellent. Now, one of the programs that is supported by the community donors and bidders who are taking part in our online auction tonight, they're supporting programs including the Junior Conservationist Program, which is a job experience program and one that that you took part in 2012. Tell me what that was like.
It was a really excellent introduction into how conservation efforts work, specifically in rural areas. Really allowed me to get an understanding for how many different aspects of conservation work there are, from education to water quality, stewardship, and biology. So it allowed me as a young person to really understand that there were multiple aspects in the conservation realm. And it allowed me to really develop a career path that I thought was most useful out of all the different experiences I had.
So is that something that you would encourage other young people to consider? Do you think other young people would benefit from a program like that?
Absolutely. I think it's critical for young people, specifically, again, for rural areas. It's really important to show young people that there are opportunities to work in rural areas, in the environmental sector, in the conservation sector. And so having an opportunity like the summer position at the AuSable Bayfield Conservation Authority, where you're with farmers and landowners across the area, was really, really critical. And it showed me that there were opportunities I could do in this field of work.
Wonderful, Ryan. And are there any good memories you have, either fun or what kinds of memories do you have of that experience?
I don't think you can beat the beach water quality sampling with the team on those hot summer days. That was quite refreshing, but it was all for scientific research, of course. But that's one of my favorite memories, just grabbing samples at multiple beach locations and just getting an understanding of how important the watershed and the coastline is in that area.
So it sounds like it wasn't something where you were just getting coffee and donuts or sitting filing papers. You really worked hard and in some tough conditions. And
yeah, I was treated as a valued member of the team. That was something that was really important for me as a young person entering the kind of workforce for the first time. I really felt like I was a valued member and I could help everyone at the Conservation Authority instead of just being the coffee boy. So I learned so much from the position.
Wonderful. Well, Ryan, to keep this show moving, I want to talk to you for another 5 or 10 minutes. I got like another 10 questions for you, but I think we're going to have to keep this moving on. My last question, have you had a chance to visit our online auction site yet? And what are you going to bid on? Or is there anything that would interest you that you would like to bid on?
Yes, absolutely. I've inserted a few bids already. Currently on the history of the local area and of Admiral Bayfield. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if I can get.
Well done. Well, as I say, Ryan, we're going to have you on another time and talk to you at greater length, but I've booked too many people on here, and everybody's getting short-shifted. Everybody's getting less time than what they deserve, but Ryan, I really appreciate you talking. It's hearing from a young person like yourself that's benefited from these programs. It means a lot more than me gabbing about it, and so thank you very much. And you have a great evening. And
thank you, Tim.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And we have a video coming up from another young person. This is somebody Raina Vingerhoods, and she had a wonderful experience related to one of our conservation dinners. As a high school student, she created a beautiful metal tree. And actually, do we want to maybe hold off on that and go to our next guest? Whichever. No. Okay, we have a very special guest coming, all lined up, but we'll talk to him just shortly after our short video. And this video was prepared by Raina Vingerhoods. And I just asked her the other day, I said, Raina, could you maybe give a little bit of a message? And she did this wonderful project. The AuSable Bayfield Conservation Foundation did a woodland reflection shelter. I shouldn't say it was the foundation, it was the community, because the community raised the funds that made it possible. And she was an artist even in high school age, secondary school age, and so a couple days ago I asked her, would you share a message of having been a Student Environmental Award winner in 2011, but also having done this project with a tree in the Woodland Reflection Shelter. And Raina turned around and created a wonderful video, and we really thank her for taking the time to do it and having a lovely message. And so we're going to share that now, right before we get to our next special guest. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Raina Vingerhoods. I thought I'd share some favorite places in the AuSable Bayfield watershed and give all you nature lovers a chance to watch the running water and hear some bird song. This is the Woodland Reflection Shelter. It was named by the Rasenberg family when they bought that honor at the dinner auction 11 years ago. At that point, this pavilion was just a twinkle in the eyes of some very determined Conservation Foundation volunteers. Peter Derbyshire knew that the SHDHS manufacturing program specialized in doing community service projects. Mr. Walsh would match each grade 12 student with an organization and have them create something that was needed in our community. Some other folks in my area built things like donor plaques for the Stephen Arena and a replica air raid siren for the history department. Most of my project was actually just the design. I looked at trees in our bush and around the neighborhood. I played around with AutoCAD on the school computers, and I built a little prototype about 2 feet wide to present to the Conservation Foundation. My last semester of school, the trees were built. Part of the community spirit in taking on these projects in high school is that the younger students help out, and in this case, it really was a team project. By April, one half of this was complete, and we could display the tree at the dinner. And once it was finally finished, my trees were tucked away in the Derbyshire shed until the next stage of the project. So the boards that built this shed are very special. They came from the farm of Bob Norris, where they were planted, I'm pretty sure, by his father. Those trees protect the headwaters of the AuSable from erosion. I hope that when you come here, you find some time for peace and reflection. Whether it's because you packed a picnic for a stroll out from town, you tie your shoes for your jog or snowshoe or dog walk, or especially if this is where a tree grows and a plaque records the memory of somebody that you loved.
Thank you very much, Raina, for that lovely message, a wonderful video, and a great testament to a community project. And it's only through community partnerships that this kind of success takes place. I'm very honored to have our next guest, David Scott. David has done everything. He has been a newspaper editor, an editor of journals, a mayor, and now he's worked on CBC or big national television programs, and now he is an author and a writer of a book on local hockey heroes. It's called Huron County Hockey Heroes, and Dave's holding it up, and he's going to tell us all about this. Dave, welcome. Oh, we're missing your video or audio. I don't want to miss any of your wonderful wisdom. I don't know if that's at your end or our end.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you. I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want to miss any of the wisdom that we're going to encounter now. So,
Awesome.
How did you get the idea for writing the book Huron County Hockey Heroes? How did that come to be?
Well, it's back at least 25 years ago when I was just a reporter at the Zurich Lakeshore Advance, and I'd never heard of Babe Siebert. Why would you name an arena after this guy, and who was he? So found out that he was a Hall of Famer with an amazing story. So it initially started out as just a book about Hall of Famers or NHL players from Huron. And as my life got busier, I kind of shelved it, but then the parameters expanded and expanded. So what it does include is about 200 profiles on anyone who has played at a junior B level or above, coached, was an official. And it's just remarkable how many success stories there are from Huron County.
Now, I should say that this book is available in the auction. So if you go to the conservationdinner.com for the link to the online auction, I have bid on the book. It's actually one of our political representatives has outbid me the last I checked. So when this show is done at 8 o'clock, there's going to be an hour left to do some bidding. So I might have to get back on to bid that back up and try to get that, because I'm looking forward to reading it. How long did it take to do to research a book of that length and that scope?
Well, it wasn't a solid like 25 years, but it was, I collect tidbits along the way. And it really, probably the pandemic was the catalyst that had, allowed me to finish it. And, but I'd say probably the last 3 years before it was published were the most intense. And some of it is just the databases online allowed me to find things that I couldn't, a decade or so before. There's hockeydatabase.com, and then there's also another one, eliteprospects.com. Now, they're not perfect, either of them, but they allow you to do searches by hometown or place of birth. So I tried to be as comprehensive as I could, and a lot of times people might have been born in the city but raised here and stuff. So it was a lot of digging, but it was worth it. And then, so some people who I couldn't get a hold of directly, I just put in the available statistics and the information I could find. So the book is it's a mixture of first-person interviews, past interviews I'd done with players from the area, and then I revisited some of those discussions with NHL players. So there's fresh material from like Dave McElwain from Seaforth, Boyd Devereaux, Mike Watt, the Murray brothers, Pat Rem, and also Greg, who all played a level of professional hockey.
It's really amazing when you name all those players, how many hockey players, professional hockey players, came from this part of Ontario and specifically Huron County. Did you get to meet any of the hockey players that you write about?
Well, some of them are in kind of the same vintage I am, like the Murrays and Dave McElwain as well, and Boyd and stuff. And then, there's probably people that you knew when you were in Seaforth as editor, like Frank Sills, who played with the Toronto Marlies way back when, and Ken Doig, who played in Scotland and some junior B, as well as Gar Baker and stuff too. So I'm fortunate that I took the time to sit down and talk to those guys while they were still with us. But so this book actually represents over a century of hockey, really, because it has players from back in the 1920s, and it's got a few dozen people who are still active in NCAA hockey, international hockey, the OHL and junior B. So I think it's one of those things that needed to be told. I knew Seaforth was a hotbed for hockey, but Huron County really as a whole has a lot of talent, and I thought these stories need to be written down and shared, because we don't celebrate enough of our local success stories.
I want to thank you for having autographed the book for the auction this year. That makes it definitely very special. And any idea what it is about the water or the history here that produced these? It's really quite amazing. Now you're talking about Huron County. In our watershed, we have counties of Middlesex and Lambton and Huron and Perth. So you're not dealing with Perth tonight, so I won't deal with the debate of whether Howie Morenz is the Mitchell Meteor or the Stratford Streak. As a Stratford boy, I'll say Mitchell, Stratford Streak. The Mitchell people will say Mitchell Meteor. But that's Perth County. Now you grew up in rural Ontario, in the Seaforth area. I understand that your hometown Centenaires just had a good showing.
Oh, you bet. Here, I got this shirt here. Whoa, yay, look at that.
How fun was
Yeah.
it to actually see some live hockey and championship hockey and
Just amazing, the talent here. And it was such a treat that they faced off against the Clinton Radars in their last series. And both teams are just loaded with local talent. A lot of players, former junior B, OHL, university hockey. And it's just something that really brings the community together. And that's both at the Clinton Arena and in Seaforth. Each town sent tons of fans down the road, down Highway 8 for the games. It was packed. It was exciting. And it's something, it's like the glue that brings people together. And especially having endured a pandemic for 2 years now, I think everybody just wanted to get out and join in the excitement and the celebration.
Well, Dave, honestly, we need to do an hour-long show. I have enough content here, and I know you have enough content that we could do an hour-long show. But because I've scheduled too many guests, and none of them get the time they deserve, I'm going to start wrapping up. But
Yep.
in the auction, we have autographed jerseys from such hockey stars as Austin Matthews and Doug Gilmour. Which of those two would you bid on?
I probably go back to Gilmore, just because I was living in Toronto then. The whole city was swept up in the excitement when he first was on the team, and yeah, I've got more vivid memories of that. Austin Matthews, though, just a phenomenal player as well. But Gilmore did so much for the city and for the fans, and yeah, that's exciting, Tim.
Now, if I can pivot away from hockey, this event tonight, this online auction week, this charity auction, it's about supporting conservation, education, parks, trails, young people, that kind of thing. Just from a point of view of someone who grew up on a farm in a rural area, what's your relationship with nature and the importance of that to you?
Oh, it's crucial. This is like my third tour of duty back in Huron County, and it's what drew me back, really. And when my boys were younger, we take them to the Bannockburn Trail and down to Morrison Dam too. There's some there's some really beautiful parts of Huron that should be celebrated, and it's something that you almost take for granted when you grow up here. But there's a combined 20 years I spent in the city, 8 in Toronto and 12 in London. But I always loved coming back to Huron County when I lived in the city. And I'm taking over a family farm now, 4th generation, and we have a pond here. So there's geese that are here nesting right now. There's some mallard ducks that have come in. Nature's played an incredible role in my life. And I plant trees every year. I'm trying to start an orchard here with hazelnuts and elderberries. So I was just out digging today, lots of holes, and that's important for me to give back and to treat the land that we have with respect.
Wonderful. Well, Dave, thank you. I mean, my last question was going to be, are the Toronto Maple Leafs going to win the Stanley Cup this year? But we don't have time for that. And ironically, our next message after you is going to be from Huron Bruce MPP Lisa Thompson. And Lisa actually has outbid me on your book the last I checked. So I got to get back on there and bid it back up. So.
Well, thank you, Lisa. Yeah. Well, we could only hope that the Leafs win. I know that there would be a party for a decade if that happens.
For sure. Well, Dave, thank you so much for your time. We got to do something more in depth at another time. And hopefully people out there bid on Dave's book. It's wonderful. And thank you for your time.
Oh, thanks so much, Tim. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll see you. And our next message by video, we very much appreciate it, from our Huron Bruce MPP, Lisa Thompson. And we're going to have a short message of welcome for AuSable Bayfield Conservation Authority and AuSable Bayfield Conservation Foundation and the Lions Club. Thank you, Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Thompson, MPP for Huron Bruce, and I just want to thank each and every one of you for the amazing week that you have had in the spirit of raising funds for the AuSable Bayfield Conservation Authority. To Dave Frayne and all his volunteers responsible for the annual conservation dinner, I thank you as well, because we need community support and partnership. And that's where I would like to give a nod to the Exeter Lions. You have partnered with the Conservation Authority for over 30 years, and I appreciate that so very much. Together, you're two very important pillars in the community of South Huron. So thank you for once again doing what you do, conserving the future for generations to come. And we still have time. Get your bids in, and let's make sure we support the Conservation Authority.
Thank you very much, Lisa. That's a lovely message and very much appreciated. And our next guest is going to be Huron Bruce MP Ben Lobb. We're just working on getting Ben hooked up. And I think I have some wonderful questions for Ben if I can find them. Ben, welcome. How are you? Are we connected yet? Or?
Oh yeah, just had to unmute myself there. How are you?
Oh, well, that's good. Well, we don't want to miss out on anything you have to say, Ben, so we want to get you unmuted, and I'm doing well, thank you. And we're just going to have to wing this, because I know I had questions for you. First of all, Ben, you have for many years been a part of the Conservation Dinner as a member of Parliament, as a donor, and also as a community member and volunteer and one of the auctioneers. And certainly the success of this dinner, 32 years, $1.255 million raised for the community over that time. It couldn't have happened without the auctioneers, without the volunteers, without the donors, without the bidders, without all of you watching. But I was going to say, Ben, we did a lot about parks and trails last week, and that's important. But we're really talking about youth tonight. That's our main emphasis, because there's so many programs for youth that are supported by this auction. Conservation education, job opportunities for youth, bursaries for youth, the fishing, the Exeter Lions Club Family Fishing Derby, all those things. As a member of Parliament, can you tell me about your impressions of some of the young people you get to meet? I imagine you get to meet some of the fine young people from this part of Ontario and this part of Canada.
Yeah. First, thanks again for the invitation. Congratulations to AuSable Bayfield and the Lions Club in Exeter. What a great job! Over 30 years. And Tim, I'm pretty sure I can remember back. I probably need my dad or Bob Haywood or Norm Whiting if they had a better memory, but I think I can go back to even when I was a teenager, tagging along with my dad years ago when the thing was first started up, and within the first few years attending. So I've been attending for many years, not consecutively, but certainly in the last 14, 15 years, almost consecutively, other than with COVID. So it's been a great tradition in the community. And a lot of good goes back out into the community. And as our baby boomers are aging and getting into their 70s, and in some cases, I guess in their early 80s, they're using a lot more of the trail systems, nature, and I think a lot of cases trying to give back to our youth in many ways to try and return the area back to the way they knew it growing up. And I think that's a great thing to do and to give back. And so, as far as the youth today, I mean, I always tell kids when I go to school, when I was in elementary school, you threw a pop can in the garbage pail, and that's what everybody did. And, you would never dream of doing that today. And so there's a lot of great innovations, common sense with conservation and recycling that are, I guess you'd call low-hanging fruit, but they do make a big difference in our area. And even different practices farmers are using in the last 10 years with planting cover crops and strips along their fields where there's runoff, and just the different work the Conservation Authority does in and around our communities. It is appreciated and it makes a big difference. And I always say in Ottawa, we're the last line of defense with our rivers, creeks, and streams feeding into Lake Huron. And I think everybody does a great job in our community.
Ben, how did you get into auctioneering? I don't know if I've ever asked you this. Is it a family history thing that it was passed down in the family? How did you become an auctioneer?
Well,
When you're not a
yeah,
member
my
of
dad.
Parliament.
Yeah, my dad. He actually went to auction school. There was such a thing in Mason City, Iowa, in 1965, and that was his dream to be an auctioneer. And I guess later in years, be in real estate. And he has a love of music and he's a social person. So I would tag along with him and help him out on Saturdays and move furniture with him in the summer times. And it's just almost like learning a trade in a lot of cases, just the same as if one of your parents was a carpenter or electrician or a farmer. That's one of the tricks of the trade. And that's how I learned, I guess, really.
Over the years, when we did meet in person, and I appreciate you talking with us tonight to at least have a little feeling of community and fellowship. But I was usually on my own at the dinners because I was working, and so I couldn't really pay much attention to my wife, and so I was running around working. So I was usually a single person moving around, and I could have sat with staff, but I never wanted to sit with staff. And it was always wonderful to, 1 year I think I sat with you, 1 year it was Richard Lobb. Every year it was somebody different that I sat with, and it was a feeling of breaking bread and fellowship. What memories do you have of the dinner over the years, that community coming together?
Well, I can remember the banter, like from my perspective, with Bob and Kevin McCarter and Norm Whiting and so forth. A lot of banter about height and hair and a lot of that. So that was fun banter. But really, when you're at the fundraiser and you see a painting sell for $2,000 or $2,500, or you see the canes that they used to bring, the carved canes, and what they would sell for and how people would be excited for that. I mean, they still are. Those are some of the things you remember. And you see some of the pillars of the community that come out and attend, and, they buy a whole table and they probably spend more than they thought they would, but they're doing it for a great cause. And just everybody that loves nature and the environment show up, and all the strong supporters of communities, groups. It really is good. And it's an enjoyable evening.
In your auctioneering, volunteering with the dinner over the years, did you ever have friends bid against each other or family members bid against each other?
Well, I wouldn't say me personally, but you would see different people from the community would bid against each other and make them pay a little more than maybe they had thought they would. And we can think of some of the people in the community that have done that through the years. So it's great, and it's good entertainment as well. People enjoy that, and no, it's really good.
Wonderful. We only have time, unfortunately, for 2 more questions. I booked too many people, Ben, and nobody's getting the time they deserve. But the one question I have is, have you checked out our online auction, and is there anything that you've seen that you wouldn't mind bidding on?
I did check out your online auction, and it looks great. It really does. And any other online auction company would be well served to be at your standards. I've always appreciated the artwork myself, and I'm just trying to think. I think it was Tim Clark's paintings that I always had great admiration for, with the detail and everything. And so I did take a look at some of the artwork, and I did also take a look at some of the other trinkets that were on there, and the Doug Gilmour hockey jersey and those things. So we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll see where it goes.
The late Tim Clark, I'm glad you mentioned the late Tim Clark, a wonderful human being and an amazing artist. And, it's a real privilege and honor for me, and I'm sure for you, to have been part of it and known people like Tim Clark. So final question is, with all those years that you were involved in this, did you ever think that this partnership between the Exeter Lions Club and the Sauble Bayfield Conservation Foundation, that it would go 32 years and raise $1.255 million for the community. Did you ever imagine that it would have the legs or the durability or the length of that this event has
Yeah,
had?
well, if you look at the quality of the people that are involved with the Lions Club and with the Conservation Authority, you can see where it has potential for sure. But if I go back in years and I remember, I think the target was about 15 or 20,000 was the fundraising goal. And I think you would achieve that every year and blow by it. And I mean, now I think this year's 40,000 and you just, I mean, with maybe with inflation, it's just about right. But it is amazing. And I know I've done a lot of fundraising myself through the years for different functions, and you really need the drive of people to keep going year in and year out to do it, because it's time out of their private life. It's time out of things that they want to do. And the weather's just starting to get nice. So it is a great testament to the Lions and to ASABL and the staff and the people that are involved with it that have been able to drive it for over 30 years and raise over $1 million. And I hope they keep doing it and keep rolling, really. And I noticed, Tim, you mentioned you didn't sit with any of the staff, and I'm sure Tom, he never held that against you through the years at all anyways.
No, he did not. No, nothing against the staff. I enjoyed spending time with the staff, but it was nice spending time with other people in the community. Ben, thank you so much for your time. We did make you work tonight, but it's not as late a night as we used to make you work when you were a volunteer on the dinner as an auctioneer. So, but thank you for your time and your message tonight. Very much appreciated by all of us, and we'll certainly pass that along to the Lions Club and the Conservation Foundation and all the volunteers and the donors and bidders. So thank you, Ben. And you have yourself.
Thanks, Tim. And you know, someday, I think the last time I had my skates on in a hockey game was against you. So we'll have to have a comeback series one of these days and
yeah, well,
see if either of us got any better since the last time.
Well, Ben, you're a pretty good hockey player, but I don't think you're going to be making David Scott's hockey book anytime soon. And I know I'm not.
No.
Thank you so much, Ben. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
And that was Ben Lobb, Member of Parliament for Huron-Bruce. And we're hoping to have a guest later. If we have Bruce Hodge is a member of the Exeter Lions Club, and I think Bruce is our next special guest, and we're lucky to have him. We're hoping the technology cooperates, so we're going to see if the connection works for Bruce. Welcome, Bruce, if this works. If not, I'll say nice things about you. We weren't sure the technology was going to work, well, and it may not. We did have a picture of Bruce. I don't know if we can call that up, and we were maybe going to do it by phone. Maybe what we'll do, can we connect? Oh, there's Bruce's picture. So we're, I think, having some technical difficulties connecting with Bruce, but Bruce is one of those many volunteers that has been part of the conservation dinner for many years, and this event, this fundraiser, it would not have made the money it has for the community.
Hello, Tim, can you hear me?
Hello, Bruce. I can hear you. Okay, we have you by phone. Yeah. Excellent. So we don't get to see your.
Actually, I'm on the Zoom meeting, but it's not showing me.
Oh, okay. Well, we got your picture up, so we can see your.
That's best anyway.
We can see your good-looking face, and we're going to get some words of wisdom from you. So here again, Bruce, you're being put to work tonight, but we're not going to make you stay up as late as you would on some of those dinners. What would you say about the Exeter Lions Club and how much work they've put into this event over more than 30 years?
Well, it's been simply fantastic and unprecedented. The partnership that we've had with the foundation, working with the foundation, the staff, and the volunteers, and our club is truly honored to be part of this and to be partnered with those people. And I just like to say that a huge thank you to all the committees and one especially who will probably be honored when we go in person next year, Judith Parker, who is retired, but working with Judith over the last 18 or 19 years that I've been on has been fantastic. And the committee would come up with ideas and she turned the ideas into reality pretty quickly.
I'm glad you mentioned Judith Parker. She was such an asset, and really, the committee, it did a pile of work. There, there were some late nights on auction night. There was preparation really all year long. But the committee kind of made it fun too, to be able to survive this long, didn't they?
Oh, certainly do. It was a fun time and always pleasurable. I can remember the one dinner, which was one that I remember the most, when we had our co-committee chairs, brothers Lyons, Larry Taylor, and Jim Beckett. And as you can remember, they sure did miss their callings as stand-up comedians, and they made the meetings not only interesting but fun and enjoyable. So that was a full 6 to 8 months of those meetings, which was a lot of fun.
Very memorable. Tell me a little bit about some of the things the Exeter Lions Club does in the community. You're such an active group. What are some of the things that are highlights in your mind?
Well, one of the highlights, I guess, that I would say is McNaughton Park, and which is very visible to the public and South Huron, and being the gardens and the Christmas lighting and the trails. Lion Dan and Lion John are doing a great job with that. As the people know, it's a municipal owned park, but we are the guardians of the park, and all the monies raised at dinners go back into the park and the trail system. And part of that, the funds go into improving every year, and even the holiday Christmas lights this year were fantastic, and the gardens. So also the fishing derby, of course, the annual fishing derby, and partnership with the Federation on that at Morrison Reservoir. Again, I'd like to shout out saying this year is May 7th, and Lion Paul has promised that there's going to be some whoppers put in this year, as well as the prizes are going to be whoppers also. So bring your kids out May 7th and enjoy the fun.
Yeah, how exciting is... Sorry, go ahead, Bruce.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, how exciting... You're on.
Yeah, as far as district projects that we look at within our district is, and throughout Lions Canada, projects such as guide dog programs and sponsorships. We've been very active in that along with Guide Dogs Canada and Lions Guide Dogs.
Well, and those are wonderful causes you support, and it's been a real honor and privilege to work with your Lions. We're moving on to our next guest, but I do have time for one question. Have you checked out the online auction yet, and is there anything that interests you that you'd like to bid on, Bruce?
Well, of course, the Lion Diane Carson's quilt hanging is going to be and should be anything under $2,000 is a steal, and we hope that that's going to go someplace where the public can see it hanging, and that would be something that would be on our list or my list. But personally, I like the wood pellet grill and the Austin Matthews sweater with the year that he's been having scoring.
Very nice, lots of great things. And yeah, that quilt by Diane Carson, just beautiful, and a wonderful person. And so glad that the Exeter Lions Club nominated Diane and that she was selected as this year's feature artist. Very deserving. So Bruce, thank you very much for having connected with us.
Just a quick
Certainly.
note also on the committees. The past 2 years, of course, being not in person, our club would like to recognize also Sharon and Abigail for the wonderful job they've done along with yourself and putting this together, because it really wasn't a lot of work for us, and it's been great. Of course, we did canvassing and what we normally do, but it has been good to save it during COVID, and we really look forward to an in-person dinner in 2023 We've had lots of new faces join our club even during COVID, and some of these new members have not been to an in-person event, so they've been missing out for sure on this, and hopefully they'll enjoy it next year.
Wonderful. Yeah, great partnership between not just the Lions Club and the Conservation Foundation, the community, but between volunteers and staff. And thank you, Bruce, for having mentioned Abby and Sharon, very much worthy of that praise. Someone said to me today, good job on the auction. Well, Sharon and Abby were doing all the work. My face is out in front, but they're the ones doing the work. So the heavy lifting. So thank you to them, and thank you to everyone involved in this. So Bruce, thank you. You have a good night, and appreciate you making the time for us.
Thank you.
Okay, happy bidding. And we are going to move on to another special guest. I believe our next guest is a former Student Environmental Award winner, Greg Urquhart. And he is someone who has done a lot in conservation, and he's a little bit younger than Bruce and myself, but Greg, welcome, and tell us about your experience as a former recipient of the Student Environmental Award. Oh, we're going to miss out on some of the great stuff you have to say.
Right
we
there,
can hear
Jim.
you now. Well
there
done.
we
We
go.
can hear you now.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, like some of the things that I was able to do with the scholarship, and that was I was able to go to college, go to Fleming College for Fish and Wildlife. So I was able to kind of continue with the environmental side of things. I really was involved with working with the Sauble Bayfield and that before, and was fortunate enough to receive the award. So.
Well, thank you. And is this something that you think is important for the community to support a program like that?
Absolutely, yeah. It's just, it gives that foot in the door to people that want to go into the environmental field, that want to go to college or university. Just gives them that little extra foot in the door to help cover some of those costs.
Wonderful. And Greg, tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of where you're from and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I'm from down St. Mary's Way. Currently, I'm actually a forestry technician with Maitland Valley Conservation Authority. I kind of got started in the conservation field actually through Sauble Bayfield, through the education department, kind of volunteering with day camps and Owl Prowl and the Camp Sylvan program and that. And I was able to do a couple co-ops at Sauble Bayfield, where I was able to do some tree planting and ended up getting a couple summer jobs out of it as well. So Sauble's been really, really good to me. They've given me lots to learn. And then going to school for Fish and Wildlife, and then kind of always had a heart to go back to the Conservation Authority, and had a chance to work with Maitland. So here I am today.
Well, congratulations, and it's great to see, excuse me, it's great to see the programs benefiting young people and having them use that in their studies and in their careers. You mentioned conservation education. We're going to have a conservation educator, Denise Ischuk, and you know Denise, and she's going to be on later, we hope, if the technology cooperates. But you, as somebody who saw those programs firsthand, because conservation education is one of those youth-oriented programs supported by this online auction week. What did you find important about it, or interesting, or what was your take on those programs?
The big thing I would say is the engagement. You see these kids being engaged in doing stuff outdoors. I think that's a vital thing for, especially in today and the way climate change is going, and just the amount of issues in the environment that are happening. Having people involved, young people involved, I think it's vital for what we're going through. So these sorts of programs, it just gets them more aware, and in the long run, I think there's just going to be more environmental awareness throughout youth in the future.
Wonderful. So this week before 9 p.m., 9 p.m. is the end of the online charity auction, but it supports parks, trails, education, aquatic habitat, all those things. Tell me a little bit about your personal relationship with nature and what trees and water, soil, what nature means to you.
Well, nature is very important to me. I mean, it's basically my life. I mean, it's my work. It's my hobbies. As you can see, this background actually is a picture from up north. I hunt, I fish. It's all part of anything I do. So it's also even part of my family's life as well. So my family are farmers and that, and like it's all part of our lives every day.
Wonderful. Well, Greg, thank you so much for spending time with us. One final question. Have you had a chance to check out the online auction? And is there anything on there that you would like to bid on?
I've been bidding on a couple things. I got a couple people that are outbidding me, so we'll just have to see how things go.
Well, we have over an hour, an hour and about 7 minutes to before the auction closes, so we won't interrupt you getting back and bidding those items up. But Greg, thank you so much for all you've done, and it's great to hear your personal experience about how these programs have been formative in your life.
Yes, thank you very much, Tim. Have a good rest of your evening.
Great to see you, Greg. Thanks so much.
Yeah, take care.
And hopefully, if we have lined up our next guest, does it look like we have somebody in the waiting room? We've made her wait, and I know she has a meeting to get to. She has something on at 8, so we're going to have to be quick. I used up a lot of her time, and we want to give her as much time as we can. So this is conservation educator Denise Ischuk. And Denise, we can maybe hear you. I don't know if we can see you or not. We might just have to hear what you have to say by vote. No, there, we get to see you. That's good. I got to wave at the camera. I'm waving off into space. Denise, how are you doing tonight?
I'm well, thank you, Tim.
Good.
How's everything going?
It's going great. And the last I checked, we were over 30,000. I don't know where we're at now. It would be really lovely to surpass that 40,000. So check out the online auction and get those donations and bids up. It would be really nice to see just how much we can do for the community. I talked to Greg about why conservation education is so important. You as a conservation educator, why do you think it's so important?
Well, it's good to see some of those familiar faces like Greg and Ryan, and they are people now in the field of education, and without that experience helping out with day camps as a junior conservationist or on a field trip or at a special event, they probably wouldn't be where they are today without having had that experience. So it gives so much to someone participating in a program, whether it be one of those things I just mentioned, but they develop lifelong connections with the environment, and because of those connections, people, kids, children, everyone tends to care a little bit more about the world around them.
Wonderful. And why is community support so important? What's the role of the community in terms of donations and fundraisers like the Conservation Dinner? What role does that play in your programs?
Well, with some of the foundation dollars, it actually helps support educational programs and opportunities for youth and for our special events like the Owl Prowl that has been hosted every year for, I don't know, a long time, at least a dozen years. And we're looking forward to perhaps having it this year. We haven't made the final decision on this November event, but those dollars go a long way towards supporting me as an educator being there and providing that experience to the community.
Wonderful. Denise, what do you enjoy about your job? Or what are some of the things you enjoy about your job?
Tim, I definitely enjoy working with people like you and the foundation
Good answer.
and volunteers. You know, the key people, but I also enjoy those moments where you're working with day campers, even though it can be a challenging situation at times in the summertime. But there are opportunities to see children grow and learn in just a matter of 5 days. And I can remember back a few years back where there was a child that had no interest in touching anything living, crawling, moving, just would watch though. And I think it was through that watching me and others interact with wildlife, that child then became more familiar and knew how to connect and what to expect as well. And so by the end of the week, that child was actually picking up things and exploring things and asking questions about what was found during a day camp. So so it's pretty neat to see those experiences of inquiry and exploration through a child's eyes.
So these are the stewards of tomorrow and the people that need to protect our water and our soil and our habitat. And it sounds like you've seen them experience things that they would not experience otherwise or had never experienced in their lives.
Yeah, it's so true. And touching a frog, not everyone knows or wants to touch a frog or touch a snake or I don't know, just sometimes even getting out and walking on the trails can be a barrier for some people and some families. So if there's a field trip or an opportunity where that child can do that on their own and can explore and touch and feel and make that connection, that tangible connection with the natural world, then it goes a long way towards that child learning, exploring, and coming back for more, which is what we want.
Wonderful. Well, I want to give you my personal thanks for what you do. It's so important. And thanks on behalf of everybody here. And hopefully we can continue to raise money through this auction to support your programs. One final question. I know you have to go. You have something on in a couple of minutes. Have you had a chance to check out the auction yet? Is there anything that you would like to bid on?
Oh, I can't say, but it's an important conservation item that I have my eye on. And
okay, and you don't want to tell anybody because then they're going to bid it up. Good,
yeah,
good
yeah,
thinking.
So,
well, Denise,
but it
I
is
know.
I was just going to say that there are lots of nice things out there. So there's something for everyone. So every donation will go a long way.
Well, thank you, Denise, for creating the time when I know that you're going straight to another thing. But thanks for all you do, and thanks for joining us tonight. See you in the office.
Thank you. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Denise. And we're winding down, I think, to the end of our evening. I think we're shooting to finish about 8 o'clock is our target. I did have a video to show you of our Student Environmental Award winners, but I think we're going to be running out of time. What do we have, about a minute? Yeah, we have about a minute, so I think you can check that out on Facebook, the AuSable Bayfield Conservation Facebook page, or our YouTube channel, and you can see that video of some of the people that have been recipients. So just to finally have the final comments on the night, there's this map that shows all the different things that this auction supports. Parks, trails, conservation areas, conservation education, turtle and aquatic species habitat, the fishing derby, job opportunities, bursaries for youth. It's really needed things. There's no envelope of funding that pays for this. It's all because of community support. So I want to say my final thanks. I don't know if there's a clock for how much time we have. What are we looking at? Okay, it's 8 o'clock. So we're done. But so thank you very much for having joined us tonight, and congratulations to the dinner committee. The auction continues till 9 p.m. Tonight, so be sure to go to conservationdinner.com for the link. There's some wonderful things. I want to thank our guests tonight. I want to thank our Dining for the Community participants. I want to thank our donors and you. Your interest in this important charitable auction and the important work it does is totally appreciated. It's been fun tonight. Thank you for letting us into your homes, and check out the video live stream. And for those of you on the cable TV stations, you might already be gone, but I want to thank all the providers, Hay Communications, Huron Tel, TCC, Tucker Smith Communications, and of course the staff from Full Pop. You've done a great job of making this possible. So yours in conservation, I'm Tim Cumming. Thanks for joining, and have a wonderful evening, and thanks for having been part of this.